All right, welcome back. It's been a while. I decided to record this video about SoundBridge as a tip for using SoundBridge, and I probably will do a few videos on SoundBridge to record several tips that I've picked up in the process of evaluating SoundBridge. And right up front, this one is about using colors and skins in SoundBridge, so I'm going to go over everything related to that. If you're using SoundBridge or you're evaluating it like I am, then you might find this helpful. In the process, I'll cover some of the other features and things that I've picked up and learned so far. Now, I'm still learning this program, and I will get back to traction waveform content in time. And I'm not recommending SoundBridge. I'm not sponsored by them in any way. I'm actually doing a 1-month trial subscription to SoundBridge in order to learn it. SoundBridge came to my awareness through videos from PLV Music that I was watching, where she did a 3-day experiment of using SoundBridge to write like 3 songs or something like that. I also see that she is now doing some of the tutorial videos on the SoundBridge website. I thought it looked interesting. I will say that it's limited if you compare it to most major digital audio workstations. So if you were looking at Studio One, Logic, Pro Tools, Cubase, they all have a lot more features. But at the same time, there's something kind of interesting and compelling about this. While I've been through evaluation, I've rather enjoyed using it. So let's get into the color selection. What you see right here is what I would call the default skin in SoundBridge. I'm doing this zoom in by holding down Command. I'm on Mac here, so everything that I talk about is from a Mac perspective. I'm assuming that you can figure out what would be similar on PC. But anyway, I hold down Command and do scroll, and that's how you zoom in and out. So I'll throw in a few tips like this along the way. I'm using a mouse pad, so that's a 2-finger gesture. You can see I can go up and down like this. And then along the bottom in this transport area is where almost all of the commands are located. You have a few menu options here, and it's actually, this is about all there is to it. These menus, and then all the other stuff that's visible right here really is the entire thing, which is kind of nice. I was able to learn the entire program just by playing around with it for about a week. Anyway, under options at the top is where you get to preferences, and you can see that it says P. That is the direct keyboard shortcut to get to preferences. So I'll click away from that, hit the letter P, and that opens this up. Now we're talking about the basic look of SoundBridge in this video. That's under GUI. You have these skins. And the one you see most used in tutorials that I've seen so far is this one, which is called Coal, which has sort of maybe a bluish gray tint to it. And then the other options are these that are shown here. And I'm going to show you screenshots of each of those. And so the next one you see is Mountain. And then here's Forest. And then this is Frost. And then here's Earth. Now, Earth, to me, reminds me a little bit more of the Bitwig user interface, which I think is quite beautiful. Of the 5 current choices, I think that Coal and Earth are the most usable. That's at least from my perspective. And I've operated mostly using the default skin, but then Earth also looks pretty good, and I've been using that today as well. So one thing about this is if you make a change to the skin setting, you will need to restart SoundBridge for it to take over and load that skin. So that's just one thing to be aware of. So that is the basic way you change colors. You have those options kind of in the SoundBridge philosophy. A lot of the things are curated here. So it doesn't have every single feature. The designers behind this deliberately don't add a lot of features to it that only 1% of people are ever going to use. So you have a lot more limitations, but I found in actually making music with it, it's given me some creative constraints, really made me think about how to work within this without always messing around with the DAW features. So I'm going to move on to track colors. Track colors seem to be always linked to the clip colors. And so I've opened the sample project. This comes with SoundBridge, which is kind of their demo. It sounds like this. Kind of a trailer for the latest version. I'm on version 2.6.0 at this point. And track colors you can select from a palette, and then whatever color you pick for that track, all the clips in that track will be the same color. And the way you get to them is go to the track header and right click. And that pulls up this palette, which gives you a few things you can do, really two things you can do, which is to choose a color. So you could choose a color from these predefined colors, or you can grab this and make up a color, and a preview of that color is shown, or a prototype of that color is shown right here. So if I change it to something, here, let's just make it like this magenta type color and click OK. You can see that the track indicator here, as well as the clips on that track, become that color. So they're tied together. There's no option for that. I'm kind of cool with that. You don't have to worry about that. Now, if you go to the mixer view, then the channel will pick up that color as well. To get to the mixer view, you just use the tab key. And so you can see that the color here is also reflected on the mixer. Now, here's a little side note on the design of SoundBridge, is that the right-click options, or what you call a context menu, are very limited. So the main thing that you can do with a right-click is select this color pick and naming menu. So where it says loop here, I'm just going to put in something obvious, loop, is you pick the color here and pick the name. You can also put in hex code here for the color. That's mostly what you can do with right-click throughout the entire program. And I believe this is because it originated as a touchscreen design program, so everything is very accessible directly. So you may or may not like that. Initially, I thought that was kind of limiting. But I will show you now the remaining things that you can do with the right-click that I've figured out. These flags up here at the top are markers. So the markers, I've got snap on, so you can see they move along. S will disable snap, and then I can move markers freely. If you right-click on a marker, then that allows you to edit the title or change the marker color. So that's one thing you can do additionally, which is similar. But if you right-click an empty space, then that adds a marker. And you can see it added a number marker. If you right-click it again, then it pulls up this where you can put in your marker name. I'll put in verse here. And so that puts the marker name in there. And then to clear a marker, I found that that's control click on these things. Control click will also put them in and out. What the marker does is moves the cursor to that point. So if I click a marker, you can see that the playhead essentially jumps to that marker. That's pretty much what you can do with markers. They can divide up your song, and pretty handy. You can drag them around, but that's one of the uses of the right-click menu. Another one has to do with crossfades. I'm going to drag these two clips next to each other, and this is how crossfades work, is that you position your pointer, and that's this, you have to click here to get to the selection tool, which is Q for a shortcut. Go up near the top edge or the bottom edge here, and this will appear, and this is a crossfade handle. You can drag that to the side and then position and adjust this crossfade. Now, one of the interesting things about this, just make this a little bit bigger here, is if you right click on this dot here, that adjusts that crossfade shape. I'll zoom in, I'm hold command and drag here. Also pinch works on a trackpad. So if I right click here, then I can control that shape. And let's see if that's true for other fades. I'll create a fade here, right click. Yeah, and it can go to that S type fade. So if you want to create your own custom colors for the tracks, you can do that by modifying the palette along the bottom of this color picker where it says custom colors. And the way you do that is first click on one of the colors, make all the adjustments that you want right here, or type in it says HTML, well that's basically the hex code. You can type that in and then hit this plus and you'll see that it overrides. And you've got all these slots you can put your custom colors in. So I want to make something, let's try making one that's very dark. Here's the prototype for the color. I will click plus and then that overrides it. So here's the sequence to that. I figured this out by trial and error, is that you first pick the slot that you want to replace. I'll pick this purple one and I'll just make it, maybe I'll just make it a little bit brighter or something. Like that, and then you click plus and then that sticks it in the slot. At that point you can choose it, click OK, and then that becomes your color. So those are some of the ways you can do color selection in SoundBridge. I expect to be back with a few more tips on SoundBridge in the near future. Thanks for watching.